Pittsburgh Steelers fans, welcome back to another episode of the Scho Bro Show. It's Tuesday night. It's well after 9 p.m. I'll get to that in a minute. And I am the co-editor of BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, Dave Schofield, here with me, as always, with my big brother, Rich. Rich, how you doing tonight?
Big Bro Scho is in the house, and he is ready to talk football.
Yes.
Big Bro Scho is excited because Big Bro Scho now knows what games are his for the upcoming year.
Yeah. I don't yet. and Big Bro has all the home games during the regular season that match up nice with Big Bro because I've got all the teams that start with the letter B. And this season of the Pittsburgh Steelers home games is brought to you by the letter B.
Letter B. Letter B.
Yeah, we're having fun. Hey, sorry we're getting started late. This was all on me. Had a softball doubleheader tonight, and we play 9-inning games. So it was 2 9-inning games. I wasn't going to stay for the second one. I'm the coach. But we finished the first one early, actually. Won by the run rule, and was rolling through the second one so fast. I'm like, oh, I can stay for a little bit more. Somebody mistold me the time, and next thing you know, I'm running crazy late. But we are here. We are talking Steelers. We're going to talk about, it's funny, we're going to kind of talk about our expectations for the 2021 season based on, from the perspective of team MVP. But before we get into all that, we have plenty of other stuff to discuss because there was a good bit of news today. First off, today was the first official day of OTAs.
Yes, it
was. Organized
team activities. Yeah.
And very good representation from the Steelers. It was interesting because they interviewed Cam Hayward as the NFLPA rep. He said they made some agreements and that most guys, you pretty much see everyone over OTAs, just maybe not all at the same time, yada, 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 a bunch of stuff. But there was a lot to see. If this was last season, fans would have been going crazy over seeing Ben Robelsberger throw a football because we all know how that was last year. We just wanted to see Ben throw, Yep. You can, if you haven't seen it yet, you can go to BehindTheSteelCurtain.com, your one-stop shop for all things Pittsburgh Steelers. And I'd have to look at exactly how many articles down it is now. But I did an article, let's see, it's on the top 6. So it's the 5th article down. It's basically what we called our OTA tracker. As reports and other things were coming in from OTAs, we were putting them and updating them in an article. So you had them all in one spot. Some people who come to the website, I know, don't have social media or don't know how to compile the stuff. So we did it for you. So it's there. Some good videos there that you can see. Some of the comments from Cam Hayward's talk, things like that. Rich, did you get a chance to check out anything?
Yes, I did. I actually checked out that story. So I watched all the videos that you all had up there and looked at all the pictures that were up there. So
yeah. So what would you say was the overwhelming theme of the day one of OTA?
I saw Ben Roethlisberger throwing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. What was the overall theme?
My overall
theme, football.
Yeah, they were playing football. My overall theme is I could just hear Bill Hillgrove right now. Roethlisberger takes the snap, hands off to Harris.
Yeah.
That's what we saw. We saw Ben Roethlisberger playing quarterback, and we saw Najee Harris, getting the first reps at running back, which when we say first reps, we mean like they don't really call him first team reps, but really in essence, he was the first guy up.
Yeah, he was the first guy up with every drill I saw.
So, which doesn't surprise me. I mean, there's certain positions if you draft a quarterback in round 1, that he might not even get step on the field his first year or so, depending on where he's drafted. You draft, an offensive lineman, you're thinking you're going to maybe be working him in. You draft a wide receiver, you're like, they're going to get on the field, maybe just in certain packages, blah, blah, blah. You draft a running back. If you're going to take a running back in round 1, he should be your guy. And I'm glad that they weren't hesitating with that. So love that. If you all didn't see that, make sure you check that out. So plenty of stuff. And, tomorrow will be day 2 of OTAs, and we'll see what happens there. But with that, 2 more of the Steelers draft picks were signed today. And first round draft pick, Najee Harris, and second round draft pick, I'm gonna mess up the last name because Jeff always has me thinking of Frothymuth, but Pratt Freiermuth. There we go. I think I said it correctly. It's interesting because when they signed their rookies before, it was like they were starting at the end of the draft and working forward, and then they got to days 1 and 2. And then they started over at the front and are working back. The only one not under contract right now is Kendrick Green. Did you see the news that they were under contract? Do you find that as a big deal right now?
Not really.
No.
He and Najee were hanging out watching the Penguin game last night.
Yes, I saw that as well. I mean, let's not talk about that. We better keep it Steelers, or else you're going to hear me sound like Brian Anthony Davis, an old man shouting at clouds. So, but and I think Freiermuth was at the game. I ended up seeing later. Mason Rudolph was at the game. I know. Lots of representation. Good to see these guys supporting the other Pittsburgh teams. But good stuff. So that's kind of the news. I know you're ready to go. You're excited about the games. So for you, it's Bengals, Broncos, Bears, and Browns, correct?
Correct.
You get the killer bees. So good stuff to know. You going to all the games or just most of them, or what? You decided yet?
Yeah, I haven't fully decided yet.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. I still got to figure out which stuff I'm doing. A lot of people last week, if you didn't catch the show, we were talking about the experiences of going to Heinz Field. We were talking about what games, depending on what you are looking for as a fan, what might be the best game to go to and things like that.
We had the away games too.
Yeah, we even did the away games. And a lot of people say, hey, that was really informative. You might want to remind us of some of this stuff when the season gets close for those fans out there that are listening that might be going to their first game and aren't sure what to do. I remember that's what I was doing the first time. Well, the first time I went to a game, I didn't know I was going until the day before. And then the second time, it was doing everything that we could to get my dad there as easy as possible. But lots of good stuff there. But Rich, let's talk football. Let's get into this season. Your excitement is growing now, isn't it?
Yeah, ready to go to Heinz Field again.
Yeah, you get the tickets. And I saw today that now not everyone has officially opened up all the way yet, but every NFL team, except there's only 2 of them, and one of them's not the Steelers, and I'm going to mess them up if I try to list them, so I'm not even going to try, has a path to be full capacity by week 1 of the preseason.
Yeah.
So they're all on schedule. So I hope we're coming through because someone asked if we were on yet. I don't know if that was us or something else. So
Steelers Pittsburgh has actually asked that a couple times in here.
Yeah. I'm watching myself on YouTube right now just to make sure we're coming through. So hopefully we're good to go. All right. So Rich, this is what we're looking at today. We're going to look at, it's kind of like, who do you expect to have the biggest season? But we also know it's voted on by the team and everything. We are going to talk about 2021 Steelers MVP, on who we think is the MVP. So what's going to happen is we both did a top 5, and we're going to count down our top 5. Now, before we do that, do you think we should kind of give a review of who's won team MVP in recent years?
Sure. I'd go back at least 5.
At least 5. Well, we can go 2020 was TJ Watt. 2019 was Trent Jordan Watt. 2018. Do you remember who was team MVP in 2018? You remember the story? It might have caused a little controversy. So much so that
the Mr.
3rd and 5th that it was one Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yes.
That was that. Mr. 3rd and 5th was the year before in 2017. 2016, look, for those of you that don't realize that, that's Antonio Brown. I'll say it. 2016 was the other one, Mr. Butt Naked Get Robbed. That was Le'Veon Bell. 2015 was Antonio Brown. 2014, Le'Veon Bell. 2013, Antonio Brown. 2012, Heath Miller. Okay. Then you had another ABA in there. Just to let you know, 2010 was Troy Polamalu because TJ Watt was the first defender in 2019 that got it since Troy Polamalu did in 2010. And Ben Roethlisberger has been the team MVP before, back in 2009. That was the only time that he's been team MVP. So going back there, just so everyone knows what it is. There we go.
You can do the live chat.
Yeah, got to do the super chat. First of all, HH gives us $19.99.
We're going to party.
Yeah, I feel like Prince.
Like Brian Anthony Davis and party.
Yep. The $19.99 into the tip jar saying, just be sure you guys have a live feed at Heinz Field to make us live vicariously through the moment. For those of you that don't know what he's talking about, we have gone to games in the past where we have done a very short, 3 to 5 minute in the concourse at Heinz Field live report, letting you all know what's going on. We did it multiple times with Brian Anthony Davis, didn't we? We did it on the Clipper. We did it with him. That was with the Buffalo game, the last time either one of us has been to Heinz Field. Well, that's the last time. Well, there was a few people last year. But then we went live with where Tony Defio met up with us. Yep. Then we went live, I think, in the concourse again. We did it several times. So if we get to games, if we're there, I don't know if you and I are going to be at any of the same games or not, or how we're going to do stuff. We've yet to work that out. But we will definitely
to sit in your seats once this year.
Yeah, well, I like taking you to where we can sit together. Good things happen. I know, but we will definitely keep you updated on that, to where if anyone's there, we're going to be doing those live feeds. I mean, believe it or not, Michael Beck is still trying to look into see if he can make a Heinz Field trip from the Great White North, or maybe I should say from the Great White Northwest, because it's Canada's not all that far from Pittsburgh, but where Michael is, it is. But here, Michael and I were at the same game together before we knew each other. We were both at the Patriots Joe Hayden interception game is what we call it. So, but yeah, we will definitely have to look into doing that again this year. So that's kind of, it's
Russ
funny.
Says, guys, why are you on different sides tonight? Dave's usually on the left, Rich on the right. It's throwing me off. Yes. I'm that guy. I'm the guy that when everybody sits in the same chair in a meeting, will get there early one week and sit in somebody else's chair just to mess with them. It's because I brought myself up first into the feed tonight. That's the only reason.
Honestly, no, you didn't. I was sitting here waiting for you because I had already been here.
You weren't on the screen. I had to pull you to the screen after I came in.
Well, I was on the screen. You must have taken me off the screen, but it doesn't matter. It's funny. I didn't even notice we were on opposite sides tonight until I went to hit go live, because I was looking at something else. So speaking of something else, let's get back to our MVP talk. So what we're going to do, we have our top 5 list that we're going to go through, and we're going to count it down back and forth of who our top 5 candidates are to be Steelers MVP in 2021. It's just kind of a fun activity. So we'll see how it goes. Rich, you want to start us off with your number 5?
Yes. My number 5 for the team MVP would be John Sherman Smith-Schuster.
John Sherman Smith-Schuster. Yes, that is his real name. So you have one, Juju. Okay, so what's your reasoning behind putting Juju up there, where you think that he could win the award?
I really think that he has he's going to have a better year under Matt Canada's offense, and Ben is going to get back to being real comfortable working the ball to Juju, which is going, I mean, the guy had 97 catches last year, but he didn't even make 1,000 yards. The yards are going to come along with all those catches this year. Hopefully. And he is going to look like Juju.
All right. That's what we want to see. And especially now that as long as he holds onto the ball, you got that other threat in Deontay Johnson. You definitely know that you've got another threat in Chase Claypool. NFL teams are definitely going to be paying attention to him. So I think you're right. I got the hat on. I'll talk about him more when I get to him on my list, because I am going to say with my number 5, and I'm going to give you a reason why it's number 5. But my number 5, but why I think it's more of a possibility, is one Benjamin Todd Robelsberger.
Okay.
I want to put Ben in the top 5, but the thing is, Ben doesn't push to be team MVP. He just doesn't do it. Every year he's going to have to figure out someone else to vote for this year because he always votes for Marquise Pouncey. Ben doesn't push to be MVP and things like that. He's looking for other guys to get that award and things like that. But if this ends up being kind of a last hurrah for Ben Roethlisberger, and he comes back and leads the team as the quarterback should, doesn't have a fall off at the end. Like I said, I still don't know that was as much Ben Roethlisberger as it was the scheme that he was forced into doing, things like that. I actually have a Ben Roethlisberger article that, it's funny, I wrote it a couple days ago, but I've had so many other news things pop up that I keep saying, oh, I'm going to hold this. It's actually talking about, it's talking about how last year it was all about Ben Roethlisberger needs to do more at the quarterback position than the guys did the year before. But this year, it's actually more about Ben Roethlisberger needs to do less at the quarterback position than what he had to do last year. That we want to see less Ben. We don't want to see him throwing 50 times a game. We want to see other things happening. But because of that, I could still see Ben getting chosen by his team. But it's not, I don't think it's the most likely, but I still think it's a possibility. Sound good to you?
Sounds good to me.
Do you want to say anything about that, or do you need to save that for later in the list or anything like that?
You always, bring it up and then want to talk about every single little thing, and then you wonder why our show runs over on time.
No. We'll we're going to fly through this list if we want to.
You think so?
Because do you have your number 4 ready?
I had mine written down when I got here.
Well, I'm saying,
them down.
Say it. That's what I'm saying.
I'm ready for number 4.
Meaning, are you ready to say it, or did you need to talk about my number 5? That's my question.
No, I don't want to talk. No, I don't need to talk about your list.
I got to stop for a second.
Your list is wrong. So
we're going flat on brothers tonight. This is definitely the Scho Bro Show. We're just kind of pulling the brothers move, but we'll get back to it. Go ahead, Rich. What's your
number 4 for team MVP? Would be Cameron Phillip Hayward.
I'm not going all middle names, but Cameron Phillip Hayward. I could see that. What's your scenario that puts him as team MVP?
I could really see teams. It could be one of those years where teams are so, we have so many weapons along that line that Cam gets a lot of single, one-on-one matchups. And I'm sorry, Cam's going to win the majority of those. Yeah. And his sack numbers could be huge. Tackles for loss could be huge.
Any team who wants to go one-on-one with Cam Hayward is
making a mistake.
Making a huge mistake. I think, honestly, I'm going to put this out there. You're going to think I'm crazy. I think if teams had to choose between going one-on-one against Cam Hayward or TJ Watt, they'd rather go one-on-one against Watt and try to run their plays away from him. Yeah. You can't really do that from Cam Hayward. When they tried to single up Cam Hayward with the best guard in the NFL over the last several seasons, Quentin Nelson, 2 years ago. Now, last year, I didn't watch the matchup as much because it was crazy. I didn't break it down. The Steelers had made the playoffs. A lot of other stuff was going on. I didn't get to break it down. But if you remember 2 years ago where Cam Hayward just absolutely owned him.
Yep.
You see what happens if you don't pay attention. And that's the great thing about a defensive lineman that's that good. The double team, forcing the double team, even if it kind of takes you down a little bit, just does so much for the rest of your defense. I think you're right there. So, anything else you want to say about Cam? You did. I think you're spot on with your analysis.
Yeah, I had him. I had him down at 4 because he could potentially see a lot of those double teams, and if he does that, then some of the other guys I might have elsewhere on the list could end up with opportunities to shine, and he could actually be part of the reason they could win the team MVP.
Yep, I completely understand. I know exactly where you're coming from. So my number 4 has already been touched on before because it is, like I'm wearing the hat tonight, it is one Juju Smith-Schuster. I had him as number 4 because I think it's a possibility. He came back for the 1 year. The Steelers could see a resurgence. It's funny. I wanted to put him on the list. Honestly, the biggest reason, as much as anything, is because he's won it before. Honestly, if it wasn't for that, he might have been on my honorable mention list instead. But because he's won it before, he's coming back. It's another contract year. It's a new system. All the things that you talked about. And
we know what he's capable of.
We know he's capable of doing it.
Yeah.
We know he is. So, Rich, we're going to roll through this. You ready for your number 3?
Sure.
Yep.
All right. Number 3 would be Minkah Fitzpatrick Jr.
Minkah Fitzpatrick Jr. All right. Tell me what it would take for Minkah to be the MVP in 2021.
Well, see, Minkah, it's going to take a pretty decent interceptions number from Minkah to win that. Mm-hmm. So if Minkah Fitzpatrick wins the MVP, it's going to be because of the guys up front. Okay. That are getting pressure on getting pressure on the quarterback and forcing him into bad decisions, or B, taking advantage of teams trying not to be hit by those guys up front, trying to hurry things, and him getting a read on it and picking off balls.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of one of those things that if the defense is doing so well, they're not going to be able to just avoid him.
Yep.
So I know exactly what you mean. I think the key to that, as much as anything, is going to be your cornerback play with, no more Steven Nelson, no more Mike Hilton. If you still get solid cornerback play, then I still see that Minkah Fitzpatrick is really going to be able to do stuff. And honestly, I could see somebody like a Minkah Fitzpatrick not putting up crazy stats, but getting team MVP because the team knows of what he's doing, if you know what I mean. Yes. So I could see that. I went in a little bit different direction for number 3. I was on the same side of the ball, but I went with one Devin Bush Jr.
Mm-hmm.
That I have him as my number 3, that I could see him turning around and being team MVP. They deployed him was slightly different last year than what they did the year before. He wasn't on pace to have as many tackles in his second season as he did his first season because of how they were using him. But I could see him becoming more of a sideline to sideline, getting into stuff everywhere. It's just one of those things where every time you turn around, Devin Bush is involved in a play. I could see him getting some sacks. I could see him getting some interceptions. I could see him, the big thing that an inside linebacker can do that could help them to get something like that is forcing some fumbles and things like that. And then, of course, if you're just pouring on crazy amount of tackles and things like that, I could see Devin Bush coming back and doing that. But it's also a comeback thing. So are we going to see the best Devin Bush possible to start the season? That's what we don't know. But being the king of wishful thinking, if you do, he's a possibility to then be the Steelers team MVP.
Yes, but I left him off my list entirely due to the question mark of the comeback from injury.
Gotcha. Okay.
Worried that it could be one of those where it could take him 5 or 6 games in before we see the Devin Bush we're used to seeing.
That's true. And I don't know that we saw Devin Bush at OTAs today. We were talking about that in the staff Slack channel. Had anyone seen Bush to see if he was doing anything, whatnot? I do not think. I mean, I don't know that we caught. If anyone could tell me that they caught him at OTAs, we didn't catch anything where he was specifically pointed out or anything in OTAs. But so that's a big question mark. But if he does come back to do that, I could definitely see him being one of those players. Since you said that, I'm going to say it. I did not have Minkah Fitzpatrick. I had Minkah Fitzpatrick as an honorable mention on mine, just because will teams be able to avoid him to where he's just kind of.
I didn't do an honorable mention list because I'm trying to be good, and I don't want people like Jeff Hartman and Jefferson Bartholomew Hartman and Brian Anthony Davis giving me a hard time about not just picking my list like they do to another guy I know who might be on the right side of your screen right now.
I mean, it's funny that they say that. The only reason I have honorable mentions is because it's guys that I considered but did not put in the top 5. Because there's lots of people that could be the team MVP. So, and you could make an argument for Minkah Fitzpatrick almost as much as you could for Devin Bush. You know what I'm saying? But
Yes.
I didn't put him on the list for that reason. So, Rich, we're getting to the top here. Who's your number 2?
All right, number 2 for me is Benjamin Todd Roethlisberger. Okay. What I would see where he could win this is, as you were kind of talking, a decrease in what we see of Benjamin Todd Roethlisberger.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see Ben putting up numbers like he has in the past, where he's throwing the ball 30, 32 times, but still reaching 300 yards in games.
Mm-hmm. In other words, you're going to get the yards on less completions because you have other things going on for you.
Correct.
Yeah.
If he has that kind of year where he's throwing the ball less, but still putting up yardage to go along with some of those things you were saying about this may be it for him. And, and if he comes in and puts in a really solid year, I could see Ben being the MVP.
Yeah. I really could. That's why I had him on my list. The only reason I didn't have him higher is because, like I say, he's not a guy that generally pushes to be, he's looking for someone else. He's going to be out and trying to convince his team to have someone else be the MVP. I went really out of the box in this one. Okay. Really out of the box. Something that's going to probably, I'm trying to look back over the history of some things and see, because I have team MVP going back until they started in 1969. So I'm going to go out and do something that doesn't normally happen for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that is the Steelers actually having a rookie as their MVP. And that is, if the Steelers get a resurgence in their running game that they haven't had for the last couple years, that I would not be shocked if Najee Harris was the team MVP. Steelers had another running back that was also team MVP their rookie year. Yes, that would be another one named Harris. Okay. Back in 1972. So the reason I would say you could say that he could be a team MVP is that if you get 1,000-yard rusher, if you get the Steelers having a more than average running game in 2021, then people are going to start thinking about that. In other words, if he's someone who's in line for the NFL Rookie of the Year, he's a possibility to also be the team MVP. Just because I'm not saying that it will happen. I can
see you putting him on the list, but that number 2?
Yeah, because it's one of those things, how do I say it? I hate to say it. You think Kevin Dotson's going to win team MVP? He's not playing a position that's really probably going to, really stand out so much that's going to win MVP. You think Boz is going to win team MVP? I mean, even when he has a stellar year, it's just there's certain guys that probably don't come from a position to win it. As bad as the Steelers' running game was the last 2 years, if it does a complete turnaround, even if it's because of Matt Canada, even if it's because of the offensive line, even if it's in spite of the offensive line, because we don't know what we're getting from him yet or whatever, and you see Najee Harris going for 1,000 or 1,200 yards, I'm not saying he will, but if he does, he's probably your team MVP.
It's got to be at least 1,200.
Yeah.
If it's not at least 1,200 and he doesn't, then the Steelers had a rough year.
What if it's 1,400 all-purpose yards?
Maybe.
You know what I'm saying? What if he ends up getting a lot of receptions out of the backfield as well? So that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying he will. I'm saying that he can. So we are going to go ahead. We've done our lists. All we've left off now is the number one. We're going to go ahead and do our break. We're going to come back. We're going to hit that number one player that we both have. We'll talk about it a little bit, maybe have some time to take some questions. And so make sure if you're on the audio side, go ahead and click on over to part 2. And if you're here with us on YouTube or Facebook, stick around for a few seconds and we'll be right back. Pittsburgh Steelers fans, we are back with part 2 of the Scho Bro Show. I am Dave Schofield, co-editor behind thesteelcurtain.com. And with me, as always, first on the screen tonight, my big brother, Rich. How you doing, big bro?
Firstborn, first on the screen, first in your hearts.
Well, firstborn between the two of us. You weren't our parents' firstborn child. You're just older than me.
I'm the firstborn of the bros.
You are the firstborn bro. You are the firstborn bro. So we are talking our possibilities for team MVP. We were counting them down. We did a top 5. Rich, to recap yours real quick, it was Juju Smith-Schuster.
No, it was John Sherman Smith-Schuster.
Okay. John Sherman Smith-Schuster. Then it was Cameron Phillip Hayward the second. No, I don't know. So Cam Hayward is 4.
Not the second.
I'll just mess with you. Then you had Micah Fitzpatrick 3 and Benjamin Todd Roethlisberger
Jr.
Okay. And then Benjamin Todd Roethlisberger 2. My list went Roethlisberger 5, Smith-Schuster 4, Devin Bush 3, and I went out on the crazy limb of Najee Harris 2. You know, just because I could see a scenario where it happens. Kind of like with Juju. We see a scenario where it happens. Does it mean Juju's most likely going to win it? No, but we see a scenario where he could. You know, he comes out, puts up a bunch of yards, kind of gets back to it. I could see it. Before we get to our number one, you know what? He said answer whenever. Now we'll go ahead and do it now. We've got $10 in the tip jar. Thank you very much from Garrett Slingerland. Don't know that I've seen Garrett in the live chat before.
I don't know if I have either.
I would remember that because that's my youngest son's name is Garrett. He says, answer this whenever, but are you guys of the mindset that Najee needs to at least break Franco's rookie rushing record for this to be considered a successful season for him? I'm going to say no.
No.
What about you, Rich?
No, he doesn't have to do that to consider a successful season.
Yeah. Well, I'll go ahead and say this. When Franco Harris did that and his rookie rushing record, I cannot remember what it is. It was 12 something. Am I crazy there? You know, give me a second. I can tell you exactly what it is. But I don't think that even though, think about this, he's going to get 3 more games than what Franco did in 1972. Yep. So you could say that. So 1972, I'll give you the exact number. Oh no, I thought it was 1,200. It was 1,055 in 1972. 1,055. I could see him.
He can break that just because he gets 3 extra games.
Yes. So he can. So I'm not saying he has to be successful. And the reason I'm saying that is because what I've been saying all along, running backs in the NFL miss games. It happens. They miss games. I did an entire Stat Geek about that and talked more about it. I mean, there was only 10 running backs last year that appeared in all 16 games that had at least 100 carries for the year, meaning that weren't like your third running back options that were only getting special teams snaps. I mean, if you got 100 carries on the year and played 16 games, there was 10 of them. Only 2 of them started all 16 games. You know, running backs miss time. That it's just the nature of the NFL now. So I would honestly, if Najee Harris plays 14 games, I think that's really good for him. If he plays even more, then I think, you know, I'd like to say I'd love to see that record being in danger. but it really is going to depend an awful lot on the offensive line, isn't it?
Yep.
You know, if he's
We got to have better blocking than last year.
If he's got to escape 3 guys in the backfield, then he's going to be in trouble. But also, not just the offensive line. If the other team knows exactly where you're running it based on what you're doing, then it's going to be easier for them to get 3 guys in the backfield. So you've got to have a better scheme. You've got to have good blocking, and then he can make it happen from there. So, yeah. So that's what that would be. So I mean, I could see him doing it, especially with the extra games, but I don't think that he has to be a successful rookie season. Because I could. Do you think? I know we need to get to number 1, but we're kind of off on the Najee Harris route. Do you think they will treat him like they normally treat a running back and go bell cow, or do you think they're going to treat him like they normally do with a rookie and say, "Oh, we don't want to wear him out"?
I have no idea.
I don't know either. I'm not sure what they're going to do.
They've talked about him being the bell cow.
Yeah.
But I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah. I mean, how many times were they specifically like, I mean, I saw it in a comment. I can't even remember what article it was on BTSC today about even Devin Bush was held back with some of his snaps towards the end of his rookie year because they didn't want to wear him out and things like that. So that's going to be interesting. So I'm just saying it's a possibility because if the Steelers had a fantastic running game and they had, and let's say James Conner was an 1,100-yard rusher from last year, and then he left in free agency and they drafted Najee Harris and he comes in and duplicates it, I don't see him getting team MVP. But because it was so bad, if he comes in and makes a difference where he puts up those kind of yards, then I do. That's where I could see it. So, Rich, let's finish up this talk here. Do we even need to ask?
No, number 1? Don't.
We don't. We all know what's coming. We all know what's coming.
Hold on. Let's say it together on 3 correctly. Ready?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
1, 2, 3.
Trent Jordan Watt. We're off a microsecond. To me, Jordan was perfectly timed up. For you, I know it wasn't. So, yeah, that's who. Here's the only thing with that is 3 seasons in a row. That might be the only thing holding him back. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but the dude's that good.
I'm looking back to see if it's rare that they even have back-to-back.
I know.
MVP. Like James Harrison was team MVP back-to-back in 2007, 2008. Then I'm going back. Heinz Ward was co-MVP in 2002 with Joey Porter and was MVP in 2003. So he was technically back-to-back. Levon Kirkland was team MVP back-to-back 98 to 99. Jerome Bettis was back-to-back right before that, 96, 97. Then going back, still nothing because like Rod Woodson was MVP in 88 and 90, but in 89 it was Lewis Lips. So going back, you're not finding a lot of guys back to back. Bradshaw was back to back in 77, 78. Okay. And that was all. And so no one's won it 3 times in a row. I think I'm trying to look if I'm trying to remember because I'm trying to piece it all together. If AB was like the first one to win it 3 times, period. You know what I'm saying? No, Rod Woodson won it 3 times in 88, 90, and 93. But, they were spread out. So that would be the biggest thing is, are they going to do it again? But if he's the best player on the field and he's playing basically every game and doing everything, then that's what it's got to be, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely. If he is, again, if it looks like he is going to win NFL Defensive Player of the Year, as he probably should have last year, it's hard to then not make him your team MVP.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the other thing. Now, here's this is why I did what I did. The reason I put Najee Harris at number 2 was because I'm like, when guys are in line for something, if TJ Watt's in line for Defensive Player of the Year again, and Najee Harris is in line to be Offensive Rookie of the Year, what do you think they do? Do you think they go co-MVP maybe? The only reason I say this is because MVP by the team that's voted on before the end of the regular season. So that's one of those things that can actually help with these other awards if you think about it. If they're like, oh, well, if TJ Watt wasn't even his team MVP, why would he be Defensive Player of the Year? You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if that factors into it all. Do you think that would? Nah. I think it would more Defensive Player of the Year than it would Rookie of the Year. Because you're the best rookie in the NFL doesn't even necessarily mean that you're the best player on your team.
True.
You know? So that's what I think. So anything else you want to say about my other people that I considered were Cam Hayward, Minkah Fitzpatrick, who are on your list. I had Joe Hayden. If he pulls off a bunch of interceptions. But once again, I think that's going to be who's the cornerback opposite of him, and are they just going to stay away from Hayden?
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. The other two I considered were Devin Bush and Chase Claypool.
Chase Claypool. Okay, depending on who has. See, that's the reason I couldn't put Juju any higher, is because you've got so many wide receivers. Is there all of their production going to maybe keep one person down?
Correct. I knew I was going to go with a receiver. Then I just had to decide which one, and I knew they would be number 5 on my list because, as you said, all the receiving depth.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah. Yep. So Garrett had a follow-up I'm going to bring up. Since he had paid $10, I'm going to bring up his follow-up. He says, that's why I was asking, because there was other podcasts out there even saying if he doesn't get at least 300 touches and break the record, it's a bad season and a bad pick. I'm not saying that because, like I said, if people are expecting him to play in all 17 games, I think you're setting yourself up for failure. I mean, the only 2 running backs that had 100 attempts and started 16 games last year were Derrick Henry and Devin Singletary. That was it. Okay. Now there were a couple other guys that were at 15 and, but they didn't even, but there wasn't, sometimes you're like, oh, they're at 15 and they just didn't start because they started 5 wide. There was no one at 15 that played in 16 games. Okay. It didn't work out that way last year. I did this all on a Stat Geek. It was crazy the way it broke down. But bottom line is, expect your running back to possibly miss some time. And it's people that want to say James Conner missed too much. He didn't really miss any more time than the average running back. He didn't have that one season where he missed 13 games. I mean, look last year, Christian McCaffrey and Saquon Barkley. You could see, oh, well, those guys played a lot of games before, but then you have that one season where you basically don't have them. So far the one exception has been Derrick Henry. And a lot of people have compared Najee Harris to Derrick Henry. But my thing is, and that's kind of how it's interesting going into that, the Steelers playing Tennessee late in the season, is he one of those guys that's carried the ball so much in his NFL career that he's due to end up missing some time. So it's just how it goes. Any other closing thoughts you have on the subject?
No, other than I'm right. I wanted to put Percy Harvin on the list just for Jeff.
You mean Presley Harvin?
That's what I meant. Presley.
Yeah, I do that too. You know what?
I always want to call him Percy.
I do too, because of the old Percy. You know what's made me finally remember what it is?
What?
1, I constantly remember that it's not Percy. And 2, I just think Elvis. We've got Elvis.
Thank you very much.
So, hey, we're going to open it up we haven't been able to do this for a while because I talk too much, but we're going to open it up for about 7 minutes or so of questions before we get to our one big question. Okay. So if you have a question you want to put in there, I can't promise to get to any of them. You can do the super chat feature. We're not asking for you to give money to us. But if you do, we will definitely bring it up. But some of these we'll just try to highlight some of them. If you have some questions, we'll talk about it, and then we'll do our big question and call it a night. But it's nice to have some time, isn't it? So I brought it up. You don't have to worry about the whole, oh no, we jump the gun thing like we do with me. It's funny. I didn't warn people I was going to do this before I put it out there, and then all of a sudden it comes. Okay. Okay. Awesome stuff. 1983 wants to know favorite Heinz Field food.
I don't get that much food at the stadium, but when I do, it's usually a Fox's Pizza.
That makes sense. You want to know mine?
What's that? Popcorn?
Nope.
That's probably my second favorite.
Going to blow your mind. You ready?
Go for it.
Pepperoni rolls.
That you make and bring
That
with you.
I bring into the stadium with me, because honestly, I have never bought food in Heinz Field. People probably say sacrilege. And you know what? My biggest thing is I don't want to stand in line and wait for it.
I know.
I really don't want to. So therefore I make sure
we typically get on the way in if we're going to get.
Yeah, I get my bag of Snyder's Berlin barbecue chips.
No, but I mean, because when I've taken the kids, we've gotten fries and one of the small pieces, just kind of split it, just kind of snacky. And that's what we do.
I really should, but especially if I have one of the kids with me, that would be a lot of fun. But that was a good question. Okay.
Different question. I like different question.
It says, is it likely that Ben doesn't finish the season?
I don't think it's likely.
Yeah.
Could it happen? Sure. It could happen to any week one starting quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah.
I don't see Ben Roethlisberger necessarily playing all 17 games.
See, that's the answer to my question. I would say, do I think he finishes the season? If I had to bet, I would say yes. Do I think he plays in every game through the season? Even discounting just sitting out week 18. Oh, that still seems weird to say that. I'm saying, and I said this early in the offseason, that I'm like, this is not a bad year. That if Ben Roethlisberger, normally it would be like, oh, Ben's injured. Like last year, Ben got dinged up in the Dallas game and he played through and did everything. I don't see the Steelers maybe doing that this year. I see it, even if it's a tough game on their schedule, them saying, hey, if Ben's not 100%, we need to get Ben 100%. No one's 100% of that, but if Ben's if Ben's only 75%, we need to get him closer to 90. We'll roll with Mason Rudolph because he might be our guy next year anyway. And that's assuming that he's the backup coming out of camp, which I am until we find out different. But I would not be shocked to just say, oh, Ben's got an ankle. He's not playing this week.
Yep.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Wouldn't surprise me either.
Okay.
So,
all right. Steeler Chick 46 wants to know what the Scho Bros are barbecuing for the holiday weekend.
Burgers and dogs probably here.
I haven't thought that far ahead. I forget that it's a holiday. This is my kid's last week of school. So I'm just trying to get through that. I have a cookout for my son's preschool on Thursday for the end of the year party. I've got to get through all that before I even think about the weekend.
Well, that's assuming I could barbecue based on the weather. I mean, it's supposed to be 50 degrees and raining here on Saturday.
It's supposed to be 60s and raining here on Saturday. But I actually had grilled venison steak tonight before I went to my softball game. So had a good marinade going on, and it's good. I make bigger steaks.
Marinade too. The other thing I might do is might do some chicken speedies.
Yeah. Ooh, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Gyro wants to know, do you think a Zach Banner touchdown will happen this year?
No.
2 thumbs down.
Yep,
he's a starter. He's not your eligible anymore. You know what would be really cool? A big Dan Moore touchdown. That's what I would like to see. Because if he's he could be. Are they going to do the jumbo package with Matt Canada? We don't even know. Honestly,
don't even know.
I would not like to see it, because I would like the Steelers to be running the ball when you're not telegraphing you're running the ball. That's just you know me. Okay. Andrew Wilbar wants to know what position battle is most intriguing to you guys. Jeff Hartman and I have been outlining some of these through camp. What do you think?
Most intriguing one to me?
Yep.
Center.
Absolutely. Same here.
Okay.
Yeah. Center. So
can the rookie win? Can the rookie win that spot?
Yeah. And in an article that I did this afternoon, which was, oh man, PFF's given me so many different lists. And, we cover them, and I give my disclaimer, you can take what PFF says for however you want to take it. But I at first I was just going to do the guards, but then I combined to do the interior offensive line because out of the top 32 centers in the league, they had Kendrick Green as number 23. And this is a guy coming out of college that played 4 games at center in college. But because they think he'll win the job for the Steelers, that's where they had him. So they think he's athletic, and they said they thought they saw a lot of improvement in his college scores from PFF as he went on. So here's another one coming from Facebook. Brian Blackstock. Will Freiermuth jump right in and be an excellent red zone target for Ben? Or am I going to give a Dave answer? I got a Dave answer for you.
I have actually. Can I give you my Dave answer?
Yeah.
Take red zone out of there, and I'm probably saying, he could hop right in and be a good target for Ben. There's no guarantee he's going to be a red zone.
Yeah. My answer,
he's going to get any more in the red zone than elsewhere.
So I'm taking a different angle. You went red zone that you focused on, and why you're saying that might be a no. I'm going to say no because of the words jump right in.
Gotcha.
I think that he will be, but I don't think it's going to be till the second half of the season.
Okay.
Just based on everything else.
Gotcha.
I hope I'm wrong, but that's just what I would foresee.
Okay. I love this next question. I love this one.
Yeah. Russ wants to know, can Russ find Dave at a game this year? Because I couldn't at the Dolphins game 2 years ago. I kept telling him where I was. I was sending him messages and everything, but he was dealing with some physical issues and couldn't really, just needed to get to a seat and stay there and stuff like that. But that'd be great, Russ, if we could get together with you. I will let people know when I'm going to be at a game. And I still have to get permission from one Jefferson Bartholomew Hartman to go to games because of all the work I have to do otherwise with the site. But they're pretty good with that they'll be able to do it. Okay. Andrew wants to know which Steelers receiver is the most trustworthy in fantasy football.
Probably Deontay Johnson.
That's what I was going to say.
Even though the other two I considered more for team MVP, most consistent week in, week out to put you up fantasy points is probably Deontay.
Targets, because he gets so many targets because he's so good at getting separation. It's going to be interesting to see how they line them all up this year. Honestly, I would say, like, from a person who does FanDuel, that, doing the daily fantasy and you can get stuff cheap. Every time I'm like, oh, James Washington is really cheap. I think maybe he could come out and have a breakout game. Every time I would, he'd get no receptions. So I'm like, I'm going to stop playing him because I want to see him catch the ball. Okay. This is a good question from Awesome Stuff. Awesome Stuff 93 says, who snaps you looking forward to in preseason? Mason or Haskins?
I want to give the Dave answer here of both. But I'll go ahead and say Haskins. We picked him up on the cheap to see if we could turn him into, pull somebody off the scrap heap that was, a high draft pick.
Tommy Maddox. No, you know what I mean? Someone who wasn't going to be the guy somewhere and then made him the guy.
So I'll be interested to see how he's progressing, if at all.
Yeah. I'm interested in seeing Mason for sure because he could be the guy next year if it's not Ben. But honestly, as much as I want to see both of them, I'm going to say Haskins just because it's the unknown. I don't even have him on my 53 to start because I just don't know. Some people were like, oh, he could be. Yes, he could be. But that's why I'm not. I would rather be pleasantly surprised than overly disappointed. I'm just setting myself up for that. That's why. This one, quickly. Gyro wants to know, which do you think is more likely to happen? Najee winning Rookie of the Year or TJ winning Defensive Player of the Year?
TJ.
I'm going to go TJ as well. I think they both have a good chance though, but TJ should have won it. He probably last year, I don't have a problem with him dealing with Aaron Donald because the two of them were neck and neck. The year before is when he really should have won it and did not. Okay. Dusk Thunder 9 wants to know, was Matt Canada an improvement over Randy by default? We can answer that together in 3, 2, 1. Yes.
Resounding yes.
Patricia wants to know, why haven't they signed Kendrick Green? It could just simply be his agent has been, it depends on the agent. You don't know. His agent could have been busy with somebody else or something. All these contracts everything's basically set, especially the first year. Their signing bonus is set by their draft pick. The only thing that really comes down to it is how you structure some of the later years with guaranteed money or things like that. It is what it is. It's a formality. It'll be done soon. So don't lead into it. If you see one more, we can do one more.
There's the next one.
I jumped. Okay. Donald Nolan wants to know, will Cassius Marsh end up as the third OLB behind Watt and Highsmith to start the season, or will we not even make the roster? I'm ready to answer. Do you want me to go
ahead?
First?
Yeah.
Somewhere in between. I have him as the number 4, making the roster because he is a really good special teams player. You can't argue that he wasn't a good special teamer for the Steelers last year in his limited action. You saw him out there making a difference on special teams. Yep. I'm hoping that Q from the U is the guy that's ready to step in. If he's not, or if the Steelers, word was they were in the running for Ryan Kerrigan. They honestly don't have much cap space, people. That's an article I'm doing later, because they have cap space, but they're going to need all of that cap space, and they don't have great options to get more cap space. When I'll talk about those options, because people are like, oh, well, you could restructure to it. No, that is a difficult thing to do.
I'm cutting you off because there's only one more question in here.
Okay.
And so you're going to,
but all I was going to say about that was I could see them picking up another outside linebacker, but it might not be now. It might not be till cutdowns is what I gotcha. Okay.
There you go. Does Shakur Brown and Gilbert, 2 UDFAs, make the roster?
That's tough for both of them to make it.
Yeah, it does.
I could see one of them. I would see them definitely being practice squad guys. If not, it really is going to depend on how they show out in the preseason, but I could see it.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Right.
Someone, you have to do one more question when they raise their hand. Okay. It's not going to work next time, but Felicia, hey, Felicia, raised her hand, said, Dave.
Felicia.
Okay. Will James Washington ever get a chance to really shine on the field and not just flashes here and there? I feel we're just wasting his rookie years. This is kind of a, do or die time for James Washington with the Steelers.
Yeah, it really is.
It really is. I would love to see him do well, but James Washington, the biggest question is he the right fit for the Steelers? Could he be a better fit somewhere else? I don't know. I'd love to see him shine more. We say that, but you got to remember, in 2019, he led the Steelers in receiving. He really did. It's just the way he does it. He's not a big, flashy player. He's grandpa strong. Yep. Sound good, Rich?
Sounds good.
Okay. We are going to do our big question. Okay.
Quickly.
And we kind of know what it's going to be, but I'm going to take one away from you. You ready? I'm going to take one away. Not TJ Watt. If it's not TJ Watt, who's the Steelers MVP this season? Okay, I will have it up when you see it come up there. Rich,
put it up.
Who's your Steelers MVP this season if it's not TJ Watt?
Then I got a number 2 on my list, and it's BTR.
Okay, you're saying Benjamin Todd Robelsberger.
Yep.
I'd love to go to number 2 on my list, but he's got to come out of his go and show me that.
Then he shouldn't have been number 2 on your list.
That's not how it works. It's not how it works.
Yes, it is.
That's not how it works.
Mm-hmm.
It's the possibilities. They have to actually play to win the game. They've got to show up and play. Okay, TJ Watt could have something happen to him and then not play half the season. And then he's not your MVP. You could always say that something like that. So that's why I'm going to say, if not, let's go outside the box. I'll go Devin Bush. Okay. So here's the question out there. Who's your Steelers MVP other than TJ Watt? I didn't put that in the question. I hope that's not a big thing because TJ Watt would be easy for everyone. Okay. Andrew Wilbar says Presley Harvin. Okay. Gyro says Claypool. We're getting lots of sarcasm because I think everyone wants TJ Watt because we get Steelers Pittsburgh saying Jalen Samuels. Okay. Steeler Chick 46 says Chase Claypool. Okay. Stacy Lynn says Najee Harris. So yeah. Okay. I'm saying if Najee Harris does, even if TJ has a great season,
you and I'll argue about this off the air.
Yeah. Okay. Ron says Najee Harris. Brian says Najee Harris. Kevin says Najee Harris. Okay. Patricia says Chase Claypool. Awesome stuff. 1983 says Devin Bush. Okay. Brad says he's late to the party, but he says Devin Bush MVP or Steelers MVP. Okay. Faceless Man says Minka. Okay. Clarence Washington says Deontay Johnson. Okay. So does Donald Noland. So does Dusk Thunder. 3 straight Deontay Johnsons there. Okay.
I like Felicia's answer.
Yes. Felicia says Matt Canada. Honestly, if Matt Canada is the MVP, the Steelers are, you know what I'm saying? Then the Steelers are having a great season.
The Steelers had a heck of a year. Yep. Yeah.
Okay. Bully Mob Kennel says Minka. Bernardo says Chase Claypool. And Andrew Wilbar says Harvin wasn't that sarcastic, Dave. No, when I said sarcastic, it was the Jalen Samuels is what I meant by. No One You Know says Juju. Whoop, I missed Jerry Cherry Band. I skipped on me. Says Highsmith. Bob Yeager must not have heard the whole question because he said TJ Watt. We said other than Watt because he is by far the odds-on favorite. Okay, awesome stuff. Also throughout, he said, or Hayden to go with his Devin Bush answer. All of those make sense. Notice it doesn't often go to a defender. That's why I still almost went Harris. I can see benching Todd Roethlisberger. Nobody else has said that for you, Rich. Just thought I'd go you. Chaz says hopefully Harris, but it would be awesome to see Claypool. Okay. Honestly, if it's an offensive player not named Benjamin Todd Roethlisberger, the chances are the Steelers are having a pretty good year because the defense is solid, because they've got so many players. But if you have someone and you're not just giving it to your quarterback by default that's stepping up on the offense, then that means they're probably having a pretty good year. Okay, Faceless Man says Cam, and then Dust Thunder says Sutton, and I'm pretty sure he meant Hayward. Okay, so pretty good stuff here. Anything else okay? He did clarify to say Hayward, which I assumed. Okay. And then Jerry Cherry Band says, I think it's Ben for real.
Thank you, Jerry Cherry Band.
Which I could see that. Okay. Absolutely. Especially, really depends on how the season goes. All this depends on how the season goes. It really does. But make sure, hey, if you're listening now, if you're here live on YouTube or Facebook, and you're not tuned into the audio podcasts and you're missing the regular scheduled morning podcasts, you are missing out. You are not in the running right now for the BTSC swag that through our breaking tees that does the t-shirts for us, you'd be able to pick out something for free by winning our contest. We are giving clues on the morning podcasts. That is Monday. It was Jeff Hartman's Last Ride. Tuesday, today, it was Michael Beck's Live Mike. Tomorrow, Wednesday, or if you're listening to this on Wednesday, already happened, Jeff Hartman's Let's Ride. I'll have a clue on Thursday with Stat Geek. Jeff will give you the last one on Friday. You figure out the code. You figure out the clues. You send it in. You do what Jeff had you to do, and you could be the one that gets a free. I think you can even do the sweatshirts, which are pretty nice. So make sure you're checking that out. Check out our podcast and make sure you are going to BehindTheSteelCurtain.com. Checking out everything. We've got trying to compile the info for you for OTAs, lots of breakdown, all kinds of good stuff. Rich, anything else you want to say here as an overall for the show tonight?
No, just, thanks for putting up with the two bros being bros back and forth tonight.
Nah, Rich is grumpy because I couldn't start on time. So he's been that way all evening.
I'm grumpy because I haven't had dinner yet.
Well, you had an extra 20 minutes. You should have had it. So, but hey, Rich, guess what? Hey. We're about ready to sign off, and you can then go eat dinner.
Can't wait.